My wife cheated while I was grieving. My brother's death then blamed me for neglecting her. Years later, I run into her at a wedding, and she tries to reconcile. But I reveal the shocking truth about my new life. I, 32M, have been with my wife Lisa, 30F, for 8 years, married for 4. We met during our sophomore year of college, at a mutual friends party. I was immediately drawn to her confident demeanor and quick wit. Lisa was studying business while I was pursuing engineering. We bonded over our shared love of outdoor activities and trying new cuisines. Our first date was a disaster. I forgot my wallet and spilled wine on her dress, but Lisa laughed it off, and we ended up having a great time walking around campus and talking for hours. From that moment, I knew she was special. As we continued dating, I was impressed by Lisa's drive and ambition. She came from a working-class background and was determined to build a successful career. I admired how she balanced her studies with a part-time job and internships. Lisa pushed me to step out of my comfort zone, encouraging me to apply for competitive internships and leadership positions in student organizations. After graduation, we both landed good jobs in the city. Lisa started at a Siam netting firm, while I joined an engineering company. We moved in together after a year and got engaged shortly after. Our wedding was a small, intimate affair, with close friends and family. Lisa looked stunning in her simple white dress, and I remember feeling like the luckiest man alive. The first few years of our marriage were amazing. We both advanced in our careers, allowing us to travel and enjoy life in the city. We had a great group of friends, and often hosted dinner parties or game nights at our place. Lisa and I communicated well and rarely fought. When we did disagree, we always made an effort to listen to each other and find a compromise. One of the things I loved most about Lisa was her independence. We both valued our personal time and hobbies. Lisa was into yoga and painting, while I enjoyed playing basketball and tinkering with old cars. We supported each other's interests and maintained a healthy balance between couple time and individual pursuits. Everything changed when my older brother Mason was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Mason and I had always been incredibly close. He was more than just a brother. He was my best friend, my confidant, and my role model. Growing up, Mason always looked out for me. He taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with my homework, and gave me advice on everything from school to dating. When our parents divorced during my teenage years, Mason became my rock. He was in college at the time, but would call me every day to check in. He even came home on weekends to make sure I was okay. Mason was the one who encouraged me to apply to college and helped me move into my dorm. At my wedding, his best man speech had everyone in tears. Happy ones, of course. Mason's diagnosis hit me like a truck. He had always been the picture of health. He ran marathons, ate well, and never smoked. It seemed so unfair. I remember sitting in the doctor's office with him and his wife, Zara, feeling like the world was crumbling around us. From that moment, I devoted as much time as possible to Mason. I drove him to chemo appointments, stayed with him in the hospital, and tried to keep his spirits up. Lisa was supportive at first, often coming with me to visit Mason and helping Zara with meals and housework. But as weeks turned into months, Lisa started to complain. She said I was spending too much time with Mason and neglecting our relationship. I tried to explain how important it was for me to be there for my brother, but Lisa seemed to resent the time I was spending away from her. We started arguing more frequently, usually about my schedule or her feeling neglected. I did my best to balance time with Mason and Lisa, but it was incredibly stressful. Mason's condition was deteriorating rapidly, and I wanted to be there for him as much as possible. At the same time, I felt guilty for not giving Lisa the attention she wanted. It was a no-win situation. Despite aggressive treatment, Mason passed away 8 months after his diagnosis. I was completely devastated. Mason had been such a constant in my life, and I couldn't imagine a world without him. The loss hit me hard, and I fell into a deep depression. I took a leave of absence from work and spent most of my time at home. Some days I could barely get out of bed. Everything reminded me of Mason. TV shows we used to watch together, inside jokes we shared, even certain foods he loved. The grief was overwhelming. Lisa tried to be supportive at first, but her patience wore thin quickly. She kept trying to get me to snap out of it and resume our normal social life. She would plan outings or invite friends over, but I just couldn't bring myself to socialize. Lisa seemed to take this personally, accusing me of pushing her away. This went on for about 3 months. I know it wasn't easy for Lisa, but I was doing my best to process this huge loss. I was seeing a grief counselor and trying to work through my emotions, but healing takes time. Lisa became increasingly distant and irritable. Then one day I got a call from Liam, Mason's best friend since childhood. Liam had been like another brother to me growing up, and he'd been a great support since Mason's death. But this call was different. Liam's voice was hesitant as he told me he had seen Lisa at a hotel with another man. I didn't want to believe it at first. I trusted Lisa completely and couldn't imagine her cheating. But Liam sent me a photo he had taken, and there was no denying it. The picture showed Lisa in a passionate embrace with a man I didn't recognize, clearly about to enter a hotel room. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. How could Lisa do this to me, especially while I was grieving my brother? I sat in shocked silence for hours, staring at that photo and trying to make sense of it. When Lisa got home that evening, I confronted her. I showed her the photo and asked for an explanation. At first, she tried to deny it, claiming it wasn't what it looked like. But when I pressed her, she broke down crying and admitted to having an affair with a coworker for the past 2 months. Lisa's excuses made me feel sick. She said she felt lonely and neglected while I was grieving. She complained that I wasn't meeting her needs and that she deserved to be happy. She even had the audacity to suggest that I had driven her to cheat by being emotionally unavailable. I was furious and heartbroken. I told Lisa to get out and that I wanted a divorce. She begged me to reconsider and give her another chance. She cried and pleaded, saying it was a mistake and that she still loved me. But I knew I could never trust her again after this betrayal. The next day, Lisa called and texted me nonstop, trying to explain herself. She said I was being unfair and overreacting. According to her, I had emotionally abandoned her first by spending so much time with Mason and then withdrawing while grieving. She actually tried to blame me for pushing her to cheat. I met a complete loss. How could the woman I loved and trusted for 8 years do this to me, especially while I was grieving my brother? And now she's trying to turn it around on me, like I'm somehow at fault. Am I crazy for refusing to even consider reconciling? I feel like my whole world has been shattered. I keep replaying our relationship in my mind, wondering if there were signs I missed. Was Lisa always this selfish and I just didn't see it? Or did Mason's illness and death change her somehow? I'm questioning everything now. Part of me is angry at myself for not seeing this coming. Maybe if I had tried harder to balance my time between Mason and Lisa, this wouldn't have happened. But then I remind myself that a loving partner would have understood and supported me during such a difficult time. I haven't told many people about Lisa's affair yet. I'm embarrassed and don't want to deal with everyone's reactions, but I know I'll need support going forward, especially if I go through with the divorce. I'm not sure what to do next. The thought of going through a divorce while still grieving Mason is overwhelming, but I also can't imagine staying with someone who could betray me like this. Any advice would be appreciated. Edit. Thank you all for the supportive comments and advice. To clarify a few things, Lisa knew how close Mason and I were. She had met him many times and seemed to like him. She was at the hospital with me when he passed away. I never completely shut Lisa out during my grieving. We still lived together, ate meals together, etc. I just wasn't in the mood for going out or being intimate. Before confronting Lisa, I did some digging. and found evidence that the affair had actually been going on for 4 months, not 2, like she claimed. So, it started shortly after Mason died. Lisa and I did not have any major relationship issues. Before this, we had normal disagreements, but nothing serious. She never expressed feeling neglected until after Mason got sick. I appreciate everyone's input as I try to process this betrayal. I'll post an update when I have more news. Update 1. It's been about 2 months since my original post. A lot has happened, so I wanted to give an update. I filed for divorce shortly after discovering Lisa's affair. The decision wasn't easy, but I knew I could never trust her again after what she did. Lisa's reaction to the divorce filing was a mix of anger and desperate pleading. She continued to call and message me constantly, alternating between tearful apologies and accusatory rants. One day, Lisa showed up at my office unannounced. She caused a scene in the lobby, crying and begging me to give her another chance. My coworkers were uncomfortable, and I was mortified. I had to have security escort her out. After that incident, I blocked her number. For my own sanity, Lisa moved out of her house and in with her parents. I've been staying in the house, but it feels empty and full of painful memories. I'm considering selling it and finding a new place, but the thought of going through another big life change right now is overwhelming. Through mutual friends, I heard that Lisa was telling everyone that I had mentally abused her by abandoning her emotionally. She claimed that I had refused to communicate or work on our marriage, leaving her no choice but to seek comfort elsewhere. It was infuriating to hear these lies being spread about me. Some of our friends have taken sides in the divorce. Most have been supportive of me, but a few believe Lisa's version of events. I've lost a couple of friendships over this, which hurts on top of everything else. I'm trying to focus on the people who have stood by me. The divorce proceedings have been messy. Lisa is trying to claim that she deserves half of everything, including my inheritance from Mason. My lawyer assures me she has no legal right to it, but she's dragging out the process anyway. It feels like a slap in the face that she would try to profit from my brother's death. After betraying me, I've been struggling a lot with depression and trust issues in the aftermath of all this. Some days it's hard to even get out of bed. I've lost weight because I rarely have an appetite. My performance at work has suffered, but thankfully my boss has been understanding. One positive development: I reconnected with an old friend from high school, Tina. We bumped into each other at a coffee shop and got to talking. Tina lost her mom to cancer a few years ago, so she really understood what I was going through with Mason. We've been hanging out as friends, and it's been nice to have someone who gets it. Tina and I have a lot in common that I'd forgotten about. We were both on the debate team in high school and share a love of classic movies. She's been introducing me to new music and podcasts, which has been a welcome distraction. Tina doesn't push me to talk about Lisa or the divorce, but she's a good listener when I need to vent. Lisa found out I was spending time with Tina and completely flipped out. She showed up at my house unannounced, screaming that I was a hypocrite for moving on so quickly. While vilifying her, she accused me of having an affair with Tina, which is absolutely not true. I had to threaten to call the police before she would leave. The whole situation has been a nightmare, but I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm focused on healing and figuring out who I am outside of my relationship with Lisa. I'm grateful for the support of my family and friends. During this difficult time, I've been trying to honor Mason's memory in positive ways. I made a donation to the cancer center where he was treated and have been volunteering there when I can. Mason's wife Zara and their kids have been a great source of support. We get together for dinner often, and it helps to talk about Mason with people who loved him as much as I did. There are still moments when I miss Lisa and the life we had together, but then I remind myself of her betrayal and how she's behaved since I found out. It helps reinforce that I'm making the right decision. By ending the marriage, I'm not ready to think about dating again. The thought of putting myself out there and risking another heartbreak is terrifying. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life and healing from everything that's happened. I'll post another update once the divorce is finalized. Thanks again to everyone who has offered kind words and advice. It really does help to know I'm not alone in this. Update 2. It's been about 6 months since my last update. The divorce was finally finalized last week. Much to my relief, Lisa fought me every step of the way, trying to drag out the process and get more money. In the end, we split our joint assets 50-50. And she didn't get any of my inheritance from Mason. The day after the divorce was official, Lisa showed up at my office again. She was crying and begging me to reconsider, saying she had made a terrible mistake and still loved me. I calmly but firmly told her it was over and asked her to leave. She refused, causing a scene until security had to escort her out. It was humiliating, and I ended up taking the rest of the day off work. My boss called me into his office the next day. I was worried he was upset about the disruption, but he was actually very understanding. He shared that he had gone through a messy divorce years ago and offered me some time off if I needed it. I was grateful for his support and understanding. On a more positive note, things have been going well with Tina. What started as a friendship has slowly developed into something more. We've been officially dating for about 2 months now. Tina is kind, understanding, and patient with me as I continue to work through my trust issues. She encourages me to talk about Mason and never makes me feel bad for still grieving. Tina and I have been taking things slow, which I appreciate. We enjoy cooking meals together, going for long walks, and binge-watching TV shows. She's been helping me rediscover old hobbies that I had neglected during my marriage, like playing guitar and photography. I've also been focusing on myself. I joined a gym, started learning guitar, and have been traveling more. It feels good to rediscover who I am as an individual. I took a solo trip to the mountains, something I'd always wanted to do, but Lisa wasn't interested in. It was refreshing to have time alone with my thoughts and nature. Lisa continues to badmouth me to anyone who will listen. She's told mutual friends that I'm cold and unfeeling, that I never really loved her, and that Tina and I must have been having an affair before our divorce. It's frustrating, but I'm trying not to engage with her drama. I've been spending more time with Mason's family. His kids are growing up so fast, and it's bittersweet to see them reach milestones that Mason isn't here for. We've started a tradition of having Sunday dinners together, sharing stories about Mason and keeping his memory alive. Last month would have been Mason's birthday. It was a tough day, but Tina suggested we do something to honor him. We ended up organizing a small charity run in Mason's name, with proceeds going to cancer research. It felt good to channel my grief into something positive. Overall, I'm in a much better place than I was a year ago. I still miss Mason terribly, but the pain isn't as raw. I'm cautiously optimistic about my future with Tina, and I'm proud of myself for standing my ground and not letting Lisa manipulate me into reconciling. There are still tough days, of course. Sometimes I wake up feeling angry at Lisa for throwing away our marriage. Other times I miss the future we had planned together, but I'm learning to sit with these feelings without letting them overwhelm me. Thanks again to this community for all the support. It really helped me get through some dark times. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm feeling hopeful for the first time in a long while. Update 3. It's been about a year since my last update. Life has settled into a new normal, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on this whole situation. Tina and I are still together and going strong. We recently moved in together and adopted a dog. She's been an incredible support through everything. I still have moments of insecurity or doubt, but Tina is always patient and reassuring. Our relationship isn't perfect. We've had our share of disagreements and challenges, but we always make an effort to communicate openly and work through issues together. It's refreshing to be with someone who values honesty and mutual respect. I ran into Lisa at a mutual friend's wedding a few months ago. It was awkward, but we managed to be civil. She apologized again for her behavior during our divorce and said she was in therapy working on herself. I wished her well, but made it clear I wasn't interested in rekindling any kind of relationship, even a friendship. Seeing Lisa brought up a mix of emotions. Part of me felt angry all over again, remembering her betrayal and the pain she caused. But I also felt a sense of closure. Talking to her, I realized how much I've grown and healed over the past couple of years. The grief over Mason comes in waves now. Some days are harder than others, especially around his birthday and the anniversary of his death. But I've found healthy ways to cope and honor his memory. I volunteer at the hospital where he was treated and have gotten close with his wife and kids. Mason's oldest son, who's now 14, has been having a tough time lately. He's been acting out at school and struggling with anger issues. I've been spending more time with him, taking him to basketball games, and just being there to talk. It feels good to be there for him, the way Mason always was for me. Tina and I have talked about our future together. We're not in a rush to get married, but we both see this relationship as long-term. We've discussed having kids someday, which is something I never thought I'd want. After everything that happened with Lisa, it's scary to think about opening my heart like that again, but Tina makes me feel safe. Work has been going well. I got a promotion a few months ago, which has been both exciting and challenging. The new role involves more travel, which has been an adjustment for Tina and me. But we're figuring out how to balance our time together and our individual pursuits. I've been trying to reconnect with old hobbies and interests. I joined a local amateur baseball league, something I loved in college, but gave up when life got busy. It's been fun to get back on the field and meet new people. Tina comes to my games when she can, cheering me on from the stands. Looking back, I can see now how toxic my relationship with Lisa had become, even before the cheating. We had grown apart, but we're both too scared to admit it. While I'll never excuse her affair, I've made peace with what happened, and I'm focused on the future. There are still moments when I wonder, what if? What if Mason hadn't gotten sick? What if I had noticed Lisa pulling away sooner? What if I had handled things differently? But I'm learning to let go of those thoughts and focus on the present. I'm not the same person I was when I wrote that first post 2 years ago. The pain and betrayal changed me, but not all of those changes have been bad. I've learned a lot about myself, about resilience, and about what I really want in a partner and in life. To anyone going through similar circumstances, it does get better. Take time to heal. Surround yourself with supportive people, and don't be afraid to start over. You deserve happiness and someone who truly values you. This will be my final update on this saga. Thank you all again for the kindness and encouragement over the past couple years. It made a world of difference during the darkest times. I'm looking forward to the future, whatever it may bring. Stay tuned for personalized deals and insider info.